Hi, I'm Nate. I'm 35. And last Sunday, my mother called me a failure with a keycard, right after asking if I'd remembered to bring dessert. I looked her dead in the eye and said, "No. But I did remember to cancel the payment on your electric bill." You could have heard a pin drop. My dad blinked so slow it looked like he was buffering. My younger brother tried to laugh, but it came out like a cough. And my mom? She froze like her internal Wi-Fi cut out. Here's the thing, I'm not a hero in this story. I'm just a guy who hit his limit. I work overnights as a concierge at a high-rise downtown. Not glamorous, not exciting. Think, coffee breath at 2 a.m., lost tourists arguing about keycards, elevators that stutter on floor 9. I wear a blazer that smells like starch and disappointment. My name badge has a dent in it I've stopped noticing. Every week, I rotate shifts with a guy who naps behind the concierge desk and dreams about lottery tickets. I don't nap. I manage chaos quietly. I'm calm when drunk strangers shout. I smile when the pipes bang like ghosts in the walls. I take pride in being dependable, invisible, useful. My apartment is a one-bedroom above a laundromat. I keep it clean. I cook in batches. My shoes are lined up like soldiers. I have routines. Habits. I used to think that made me safe. My family, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. My mother, Denise, is 60 going on 30. Blonde dye job, loud jewelry, and an Instagram account full of brunch selfies and Bible verses. She works part-time as a life coach even though she hasn't figured out her own. My dad, Rick, is a retired trucker with back issues, bad hearing, and a serious addiction to conspiracy podcasts. And my younger brother, Cody, don't get me started. 28, lives in their basement, works on and off as a DJ, which is code for owns speakers. For the past 4 years, I've been quietly paying for most of their life. Not because I'm rich, please, my 2006 Corolla has a passenger window that doesn't close, but because every month, there's a crisis. And every crisis ends with a phone call. Nate, the furnace is rattling again. Nate, your dad's credit card bounced. Nate, we'd come to your place for Thanksgiving, but gas is expensive. At first I helped. Because they're my family. Because I believe them. Because my mother once held my hand after a nightmare and said, "We're a team, you and me." But the team started to feel one-sided. And it came to a head last weekend. It was supposed to be Sunday dinner. Chicken, mashed potatoes, Denise's famous lemon pie that's really just store-bought with extra whipped cream. I showed up with a smile and a 6-pack of sparkling water. I had worked a double the night before and was running on fumes. The moment I walked in, Cody said, "Hey bro, you're late. We were gonna start without you." Which is funny because he's never started a job on time in his life. I ignored him. Said hi to Mom. She air-kissed me, then said, "Don't forget the power's due Wednesday, okay?" Like it was just a normal part of greeting your child. We sat down. Ate. Chatted. I tried to keep it light. Then came dessert. I passed. I was too tired. That's when Mom laughed and said, "Of course you'll skip it. That's what failures do. Skip the sweet part." She said it like a joke. But the room laughed. Even Cody. And something in me snapped. Not loudly. Not dramatically. Just, cleanly. "No problem," I said. I canceled the auto payments this morning. The silence that followed was the best thing I've ever heard. To be continued. Mom blinked at me like I'd started speaking French. Dad leaned back slowly, like maybe the chair would offer him an escape. Cody looked up from his phone for the first time all night and said, "Wait, what do you mean canceled?" "I mean," I said, carefully setting down my fork. "I turned off the payments. The electric bill, the internet, the trash pickup. The card on file is no longer mine." Denise tried to smile, but it cracked at the edges. "Honey, you're just tired. We can talk about this later." "No," I said. "We're talking now." Because later always turns into never, and I'm done pretending we're not all swimming in the deep end of denial. Dad crossed his arms. "We didn't ask you to pay, you offered." I nodded. "Sure. The first few times. When you said it was temporary. When Cody was figuring things out. When the water heater exploded and the landlord was being difficult. I helped because I believed it would get better." Mom's voice shot up a note. "It did get better. For a while. But then your father's back got worse." I finished. "Yes. I know. And Cody had that 1 gig that paid in drink tickets. I know all the excuses. I've got them memorized. Cody stood up. Dude, why are you acting like we're leeches? You think you're better than us just because you wear a tie and answer phones? I laughed. Not mean. Just tired. I don't wear a tie, Cody. I wear a clip-on because it's regulation. And I don't answer phones. I respond to fire alarms, police calls, and once, a guy who smeared peanut butter on his chest and screamed about aliens. I'm not better. I'm just tired of pretending this situation is normal. Denise put her hand to her heart like I'd stabbed it. We're family, Nathan. Family helps each other. Right. And I did. For 4 years. I helped you with bills, groceries, car repairs, Cody's phone plan, Dad's weird supplements that smell like burnt mint. I helped. And somewhere along the way, you stopped seeing it as help and started treating it like tax season. Like something you're owed. Cody scoffed. Okay, man. So what, you want a parade? A gold star? No, I said, standing. I want peace. I want a month where my own power bill doesn't come with a side of guilt. I want to stop being punished for being the responsible one. Denise's voice dropped to a hiss. You're being ungrateful. After everything we did for you, and I'm grateful. I interrupted. I'm grateful for the roof, the meals, the rides to school. But I've been repaying that debt for over a decade, and I didn't realize interest was infinite. Dad's face darkened. You've changed. No, I said quietly. I've just started reading the receipts. And with that, I grabbed my jacket. Left the pie untouched. Walked to the door, turned the knob, and added one final thing without turning around. Lights might go off Wednesday. Better call the provider. Then I stepped out into the cold, and for the first time in a very long time, I didn't feel like I was leaving home. I felt like I was leaving a contract. 3 days later, Cody showed up at my apartment. Hoodie on, arms crossed, standing in my hallway like an unpaid pizza delivery guy who'd been forced to interact with emotions. I didn't invite him in. I just leaned on the doorframe, sipping coffee from a chipped mug that said Best Dad, a thrift store find that made me laugh every morning. He stared past me into my living room like he was trying to judge my furniture. Power's out, he said like it was news. I assumed, I said. I saw Mom's Facebook post. When your own child turns off the lights on you, literally. It had 3 prayer emojis and 1 comment that said, praying for strength. She's pissed, he muttered. She always is when someone sets a boundary, I replied. He looked down at his shoes. You really meant it? I really meant it, Code. He shuffled. They're saying you're abandoning us. I held his stare. And what do you think I'm doing? Cody didn't answer. He just looked smaller. Like the puffed-up version of himself had finally deflated. I got offered a 2nd gig. He mumbled. Real one. DJ at a bar on weekends. Not just exposure this time. They pay. That's good. He kicked at a crack in the concrete. I told them no at first. Said I couldn't commit because I help out at home. But then I realized. I don't help. I mooch. I take. And then I complain that it's not enough. It wasn't an apology, not exactly. But it was a mirror. And that was rarer. I'm not asking for you to fix it, he said. I just came to say. I get it now. A little. I leaned back. Let the silence sit. You gonna take the gig? I asked. He nodded. Yeah. And I'm gonna start paying Mom back. She's not great with money, Cody. I know, he said. But I can at least pay the power bill directly. For a second, we just stood there. Not brothers. Not enemies. Just 2 people who were finally done pretending everything was fine. Before he left, he turned back. You know she's gonna call you when the Wi-Fi goes out, right? I smiled. She already did. I told her to call Spectrum and gave her their number. She hung up. He laughed. Baby steps. After he left, I sat back down at my desk. Opened the little notebook I keep next to my keyboard. The one that used to have a single word written at the top of page 1, boundaries. Below it, for the first time, I wrote another word, beginning. That night, I slept like I hadn't in months. Because when the power went out over there, something finally turned on over here. The fallout started with a voicemail. Not the dramatic kind. No sobbing. No screaming. Just my mother's voice, sharp, flat, and dripping with weaponized disappointment. Nathan, I don't know what you're trying to prove. But you've made your father sick with stress, and Cody's confused. You've always been the strong one. The adult. And now you're acting like a stranger. Please call me back. We're family. No mention of the power outage. Or the fact that Cody had already started covering it. I didn't call back. Instead, I went to work early. Let the building's silence wrap around me like armor. The marble floors echoed under my boots. The air smelled like lemon cleaner and tired stories. At 2 a.m., I helped an elderly tenant find her cat. At 3:30, I handled a noise complaint with the soft voice I saved for drunk college kids. And at 5 o'clock, I sat at the desk with my lukewarm coffee and felt oddly peaceful. Until my phone buzzed. Group chat FamCore. Not Fam Jam. This one was new. Created by Mom, I could tell by the default name and the passive-aggressive icon of a heart wrapped in vines. First message was a meme. Family is where life begins and love never ends. Second was a text from her. Nate has decided he no longer wants to be part of our family's support system. We are asking for prayers and strength during this time. Followed by a crying emoji. Then a praying hands one. Then a Bible verse about betrayal. I stared at it for a long minute. Then Cody sent a message directly to me, outside the chat. Don't respond. It's bait. I almost laughed. Cody, king of chaos, suddenly becoming the emotional tech support. But I didn't reply. I muted the chat. Then I blocked the notifications. My heart didn't pound. My hands didn't shake. I just kept sipping coffee and let the silence be enough. That same night, I got a knock on my door. It was my dad. Now let me explain. My dad is not the talker. Rick is a man of truck stops and Fox News. He expresses emotions by grunting at the dinner table and occasionally pointing out gas prices with a damn shame. So when I opened the door and saw him standing there, jeans wrinkled, jacket half-zipped, eyes like wet gravel, I knew something was up. You got a minute? He asked. I stepped aside. No words. Just space. He sat on the edge of my couch like it might break. Looked at the floor. Then finally said, Your mother's been losing it. I nodded. I saw the group chat. He winced. That thing's a mistake. Then he went quiet again. For so long I thought maybe he'd fallen asleep. But finally he said, I didn't know. All this time, I just thought he's got it. Nate's got it. Like always. That was the problem, I said. He looked up at me. Eyes tired. She's scared, Nate. Your mom. About getting old. About losing everything. This house, the life. She covers it up with attitude and Facebook quotes, but she's scared. I get that, I said. But fear doesn't give you permission to burn someone else's life down. He rubbed his face. I should have stepped in. I should have stopped it earlier. You still can. That hit him. Right in the center. He nodded. Slowly. Like his neck didn't want to, but his gut did. I canceled my supplements, he said. The weird green ones. Your mom's pissed. I laughed softly. They smelled like compost in a bottle. We sat there in silence, two men who didn't know how to say I love you, so we talked about power bills and vitamins instead. When he left, he said, We'll figure something out. Even if your mom doesn't say it, you should hear it from me. You didn't fail us. We failed you. I watched him go. Closed the door. And leaned back against it until I felt my ribs settle into my chest again. Then I walked to the kitchen, crossed out the word beginning in my notebook, and wrote rebuilding. It's slower. It's messier. But it's real. It was a Wednesday morning when the letter arrived. Not a text. Not an email. A real envelope. Cream-colored. Fancy. With my name written in Mom's handwriting, the neat kind she only uses for holidays and guilt. Inside was a folded piece of floral stationery that smelled faintly of lavender and passive aggression. I opened it slowly, like it might explode into glitter. It didn't. It was an invitation. Family meeting Sunday at 3 p.m. Agenda. Repair and realignment. Dress. Comfortable but respectful. Location. Home. Home. That word hit different now. There was no RSVP option. Just a handwritten note at the bottom that said, We'd appreciate your maturity and presence. This affects everyone. I almost threw it out. But something about it, the fact that it wasn't a rant or a prayer meme, made me pause. So I showed up. Not for them. For me. To see if anything had really shifted, or if this was just another trap disguised as casserole and concern. When I walked into the house, the first thing I noticed was the quiet. No TV blasting conspiracy theories. No Cody's EDM echoing from the basement. No blender running for some bizarre detox smoothie Mom was pushing that week. Just quiet. And then I saw it. The dining table. It was set like a summit meeting. Not a dinner. No food. Just a pitcher of water, 4 chairs, and a pad of paper with the word budget written across the top in block letters. Mom sat at one end. Dad at the other. Cody in between them, looking like he'd rather be at the dentist. I stayed standing. Mom cleared her throat. We'd like to make some changes. I blinked. We? Dad nodded. We had some hard talks. Cody muttered. More like yelling. But yeah. Then Mom reached under the table and pulled out a binder. An actual 3-ring binder. I made a financial plan, she said, flipping it open like she was presenting to a boardroom. We spoke to the utility companies. Arranged payment plans. Cancelled cable. Cut Cody's unlimited data plan to 5 gigs. R.I.P. my memes, Cody whispered. And, she continued, we applied for community assistance for the heating bill. It's not much. But it's something. I said nothing. She kept going. We're selling the second car. The one with the bad transmission. Cody's going to take the bus to his gig. Cody made a noise like a dying pigeon. I said I might take the bus. Mom snapped. Then walk. Dad chuckled softly. We're working on it. Then Mom looked at me. Her expression was unfamiliar. Not smug. Not wounded. Just open. I was mad when you stopped helping, she said. But after a while, I realized I was more mad that I didn't know how to help myself anymore. That's not your fault. That's mine. I sat down. Slowly. Like I was lowering myself into an ice bath. I'm not here to say it's okay, I said. Because a lot of it wasn't. But this is a start. Mom nodded. We're not asking for money. Good, I said. Because I wouldn't offer. Cody grinned. You're still kind of a savage, man. Respect. Then he added. Also, thanks for not blocking my number. Dad raised his glass of water like it was champagne. To repair and realignment. We all stared at him. What? He said. It's in the invitation. I laughed. For real this time. Not a tired chuckle. A laugh that felt like a window had opened somewhere. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like the family wallet. Or the backup plan. Or the reluctant fixer. I felt like a person at the table. Not the table itself. Things were quiet for a week. Not suspicious quiet. Just calm. The kind you don't trust at first. Like when a storm passes too fast and you're waiting for the second wave. Mom started texting me once a day, not to ask for money, but to ask how I was. That was new. Cody sent me a playlist called Bus Vibes Only, with a photo of him wearing a poncho and standing next to a puddle like he was in a sad indie film. Dad sent me a voicemail saying, the thermostat's working again. I only pressed one button this time. Small win. Then he hung up like a man dropping the mic. So when I got a text from Aunt Sherry that Friday, I already knew the piece was on borrowed time. Her message? Your cousin Heather says your mom's on Facebook talking about refinancing the house to help Cody start a business. Know anything about that? No. No, I did not. I clicked open Mom's profile. Her latest post had 76 likes and 3 paragraphs of pure Denise. When God closes one door, he opens a small business. Cody is finally stepping into his calling, mobile event management, and we're so proud. With just a little support from family and faith, we believe this dream can fly. I didn't know whether to scream or start drinking. Mobile event management meant speakers, a van, and based on the comment replies, a plan to borrow $8,000 against the equity in the house for a branding campaign. I called her. She answered on the 3rd ring with a breezy, Nathan, did you see the post? Isn't it exciting? I did, I said. And it's not. Oh, honey, don't be like that, no. I cut in. We had one good week. One. And you're already putting the house at risk for Cody's latest dream job? It's not risk, it's investment. Is it your money? Silence. Exactly. I said. You're refinancing a house you almost lost 3 times in the last 2 years. For a business Cody dreamed up after watching one TikTok video about passive income. Don't belittle your brother. I'm belittling the decision, not the person. But if the person keeps making reckless choices, maybe the line's blurry. Mom's voice changed sweet to sharp, like someone snapping off a twig and calling it a sword. This is why we didn't tell you. You always think you know better. I don't always know better. But I do know the difference between help and harm. And refinancing your stability for a maybe isn't help, it's gambling. She scoffed. We're not asking for your money, Nate. No, I said. But you're trying to go around the boundary by dragging other people in. Aunt Sherry, cousins. Facebook. You're making this my problem again. And I told you we're done with that. You're being cruel. No, I'm being clear. Big difference. She hung up. 10 minutes later, Cody texted me. I didn't ask her to post that. I said I had an idea, and she went full Shark Tank. I'm not even doing it. Chill. I stared at the message. Then replied, good. Because if she tries to refinance that house, I'm calling the bank myself. He just replied, kinda terrifying when you're like this. But also fair. I sat down at my kitchen table. My coffee had gone cold. My notebook was still open. Under rebuilding, I wrote a third word. Reinforced. Because boundaries aren't just lines. They're fences. With gates that open when earned, not whenever someone brings a casserole and a sob story. The next time I saw my mother, she didn't hug me. She stood in her doorway, cardigan wrapped tight like armor, and said, I'm not doing the refinance. Just like that. No preamble. No guilt. No verse of the day printed on a throw pillow. Just a fact. I blinked. Really? She stepped aside, let me in. We talked to the bank. They were ready to sign papers. But Rick, she nodded toward Dad, who was in the kitchen making tea like a retired monk, said something that surprised me. I waited. She didn't look at me when she said it. He said if we keep choosing easy now, we'll have no options later. Dad turned, spoon in hand. Which is a fancier way of saying, we're not idiots. Not anymore. I sat down slowly. Mom joined me. There was a plate of store-brand cookies between us. Like a peace treaty that came with a side of artificial vanilla. I panicked, she said quietly. The money. It felt like a way to fix something. To buy back time. To help Cody finally land. And in the process, I said gently, you almost lit the foundation on fire. She nodded. I'm sorry. It was the first time those words came out of her mouth without qualifiers. No, but you, no, we were just, no, you don't understand. Just I'm sorry. Dad sat beside her. You didn't cause the cracks, Nate. You just finally stopped covering them with duct tape. Cody wasn't there. He had texted that morning. Interviewing for a part-time gig at a print shop. Not a dream job. Just something. Felt like the right move. It was. We sat there for a while, the three of us. Talking. Not about the past. Not about money. Just about things, how the neighbor's dog keeps escaping, how Dad finally figured out their online banking login, how Mom's been cooking real meals again, and how quiet the house is now without the constant fear of who needs what next. Before I left, Mom handed me something. A small envelope. Plain white. Inside was a gift card. $15. To the same coffee shop I used to take her to years ago on Sundays. Back when we both still pretended this was normal. I stared at it. It's not repayment, she said quickly. It's just a start. A reminder that we can give back too. I smiled. Thanks. Back at my apartment, I pinned it next to the notebook on my wall. Under boundaries, under beginning, under reinforced, I added one more word, balanced. Here's what I know now, love is not obedience. Family is not a job title. And peace doesn't always look like a hug, it often looks like space. Sometimes, it means sitting across from your mother with a stack of overdue apologies and deciding to forgive only what's been earned. It means letting your brother figure things out without throwing your entire life under him like a mattress. It means being the man who still answers the front desk phone at 2 a.m., but who no longer lets that job follow him home in the form of everyone else's unfinished lives. I'm not a savior. I'm not a villain. I'm just a man with a folder of old bills and a new understanding of limits. And a plant on my table that's still growing, somehow. Even now. Even after everything. Nate, 35. still standing. That morning, I stood on the deck with 2 mugs of coffee. One for me, one for Dad. The breeze rolled in from the bay like it had instructions. Inside, Mom was humming no playlist, no performance, just her voice filling the corners like it used to when I was a kid. I looked around the house and it finally felt like what I'd meant it to be: safe. Quiet. No one had knocked in weeks. No surprise guests, no group chats demanding explanations. Julia had gone silent after her last attempt to guilt me landed like a balloon full of sand. Kyle, predictably, tried to lawyer his way into being right. I sent one reply. Please forward further correspondence to the trash. Dad stepped out in socks, took his coffee, didn't speak. We didn't need to. He looked out at the water like it was a thank you note written in waves. I sipped and watched the sun lift off the surface like a secret. I thought of everything we'd been through. Not with regret. With relief. Not because I burned bridges, but because I stopped building them to places that only led to debt. I didn't save my parents. I just stopped letting them sink to save someone else. The house didn't fix our family. It revealed it. What was worth protecting? What needed to be cut loose? I didn't come to this deck to be worshipped. I came to watch my parents breathe in a home that no longer made them flinch. And when I walked back inside, and heard Mom laugh at a crossword clue, I knew, this is what love sounds like when it's no longer afraid.